Hello everyone. This movie, based on a true story, is highly recommended for anyone who wants to avoid being possessed by demons. Besides depicting the harshness and deadly consequences of demonic possession, the movie also explores the various causes of possession. The story revolves around Connie, a single mother and former victim of one of the most powerful demons in Mexico, along with her 2 daughters. During an interview session, Connie chooses to hide her face from the camera. The story of Connie begins with young Catholic church members seen preparing something. The priest marks each of their foreheads with a protective sign. One of the young church members appears tense as he approaches the entrance door, as terrifying growls can be heard from behind it. Eventually, another member gathers the courage to open the door. A terrifying-faced woman growls angrily as her companion continues to place a crucifix on her forehead. One day, while crying, Connie talks on the phone with her ex-husband, asking him to take responsibility for their children. However, the call gets disconnected, and Connie becomes frustrated. She tells her eldest child to go to sleep, as it is already late at night. Suddenly, she hears the barking of a neighbor's dog, which piques Connie's curiosity, and she looks out the window. She sees the neighbor's child playing with a mysterious woman with long hair using an Ouija board. Connie witnesses the Ouija board's pointer moving, startling her. The mysterious figure turns to look at her. Connie becomes panicked and immediately urges her children to leave the house. As she looks out the window again, she notices the dog's eyes turning red. Apparently, this particular demon doesn't discriminate and can possess animals as well. The dog's gaze makes Connie behave strangely, as she scolds one of her daughter's dolls, claiming it was staring at her and laughing. The doll's eyes also glow red. Connie then angrily smashes the doll into pieces. The 2 children are confused and frightened, especially when the electricity suddenly goes out. Connie lights a candle to help them leave the house, but the flame seems to be blown out by an unseen force. Connie immediately grabs the Bible, feeling that there is a demon in their house. Connie hurriedly takes her 2 children to her sibling's house, who is a religious activist reading the gospel together with their group. Connie is extremely worried that the demon is targeting her children. Her brother Oscar believes Connie's story because he were once possessed by the same demon. They needed to struggle fiercely through the church to free himself from the grip of this demon. When the demon failed, it targeted Connie through her vulnerabilities. Oscar invites her to go to the church when the time is right. The next day, they return to their house. Connie tidies up the dolls that became victims of her anger. Oscar continuously reminds her to stay close to God. However, as evening approaches, Connie senses the presence of the demon again. Anxiously, she walks towards the window and suddenly locks eyes with the mysterious woman with long hair. Connie is taken aback. Suddenly, the window glass shatters and something is thrown. Connie becomes like a mad person, walking out of the house and terrifyingly cursing the people she encounters. She is hit by a car, but only sustains minor injuries. Connie returns to her brother's house, where they are reading the gospel together. Connie screams and pounds on the door, begging for help in a pleading voice, but moments later, she lets out a horrifying scream. Oscar brought Connie, who was struggling, to the hospital. The doctor asked Oscar if Connie was under the influence of illicit drugs. Oscar explained that Connie was actually possessed by a demon. The doctor was shocked to see Connie's terrifying condition, and he injected her with a sedative. The doctor concluded that Connie's violent outburst was not due to drugs or intoxication, but rather due to possession. It was revealed that a demon had possessed Connie because one of her sisters practiced dark magic to summon demons at the request of politicians to maintain their power. The second factor was Connie's extreme emotional state due to her divorce. The third shocking factor was the presence of a serial killer named Gregorio Cardenas, who lived near Connie's house and murdered women. Gregorio, a chemistry student, killed his victims after engaging in intimate relations with them. Oscar sought the help of Pastor Basilio, a spiritual warrior dedicated to battling demons. The scene shifted to Connie being tied to a bed, surrounded by a circle of salt. Oscar comforted her and told her what happened to her after they left the hospital. She had been possessed by a demon and couldn't remember what happened due to losing his sense of self. Connie didn't believe him, but Pastor Basilio affirmed that the demon wanted to control Connie's body and soul. There was no other way. The demon had to be expelled. Connie was frightened, but Pastor Basilio promised to ensure the success of the exorcism ritual. The exorcism ritual began. The pastor recited prayers, and Connie struggled when held by Oscar. Connie eventually fell asleep after screaming when approached with the cross and rosary of the pastor. In her dream, she saw a bright figure she called Jesus, urging the exorcism ritual to end. But the pastor said it was a trick of the demon because demons could mimic anyone. The pastor continued while Coney pleaded for him to stop. Coney's condition worsened. She had to endure the demon's resistance, refusing to leave her body. It was a life-and-death situation as the demon stubbornly refused to depart. Oscar became extremely worried as Coney began to foam at the mouth. Coney did not respond to the sprinkling of holy water from the pastor. Oscar couldn't bear to see Coney's condition any longer, but the pastor asked him not to give up. The exorcism had to proceed before time ran out, so they took Coney to the church. The exorcism had to be performed in the church using the Roman rite of exorcism because the demon that possessed Coney was considered very strong and deadly. The church sent 2 people to assist in bringing Coney to Pastor Basilio's church. Coney was frightened because she knew she would suffer even more. Meanwhile, the demon struggled and tried to escape, causing the handlers to exert extra effort to restrain it. The demon tried crawling on the ceiling to break free from their grasp. Coney's physical strength multiplied, overwhelming her handlers. Oscar pressed a cross against her forehead, momentarily subduing the demon's resistance. Finally, they managed to bring her to Pastor Basilio's church. The young church attendants were anxious as they heard Coney's terrifying screams, which sent shivers down their spines. Pastor Basilio allowed Oscar to enter the church and participate in the exorcism ritual, because the support and love of family could help Coney endure the demon's onslaught. They bound Coney, and the demon inside her tried to persuade them not to perform the exorcism. The demon threatened that Coney's children would lose their mother. The demon spoke in Latin and other languages, astonishing the pastor, but the pastor remained steadfast. He intensified the ritual, and at one point, the demon cursed one of the church attendants and his descendants while choking him. The demon revealed to him that they were a group of demons, and mentioned his name, causing the young attendant to flee in fear. Coney's condition became even more horrifying as black fluid emerged from her mouth. The demon continued to withstand the splashes of holy water and Latin prayers from the pastor, but eventually, Coney passed out. The pastor placed his hand on Coney's forehead and prayed. Afterward, he went up to the pulpit, wiping away his sweat. Oscar was shocked when Coney suddenly regained consciousness, with a more sinister expression. Oscar noticed that the large crucifix behind the pulpit was cracked and shaking. It turned out to be the work of the demon, who was about to harm the pastor. Oscar immediately rushed to save the pastor in those critical moments. The demon laughed triumphantly, growled, and Coney fainted again. But suddenly the demon returned. This time, the pastor recited prayers according to the Roman ritual, demanding that the demon leave Coney's body immediately. The demon smirked and broke free from the restraints. The pastor commanded the demon to reveal its name because when the demon weakened, it would mention its name and would no longer be able to possess its victims. The demon uttered its name. It couldn't approach the pastor, who declared that Coney no longer wanted to be possessed and expelled it. At that moment, Coney found herself in a room guarded by twin guards at the entrance to a fireplace. She heard her child's voice calling her, as well as Oscar's voice. Coney vomited and found herself back in the church. She vomited black liquid containing chains. Afterward, Coney's face returned to normal. Coney cried as she saw a figure of great radiance. She fell to her knees before him. She now believed that God exists. The demons did not like the book about Coney's experience written by Andrea, one of her daughters. Andrea had felt their presence several times. Thus, this true story conveys a message that the choice to be possessed by a demon or not ultimately lies in our own hands, not the demons. It is advisable never summon demons, as it could put our families at risk of possession. Thank you for watching.